Hey, everybody. Dr. Durant here. I've got someone that makes me very angry all the time, Lou Melagrana, with us, and also Max Overnighter. If anyone isn't aware, my secret alias that I turn into when I'm not angry is Rich Hurley, but usually I'm just Dr. Durant.
And I am Max Overnighter. I don't have a YouTube channel of any kind, but you can check me out. I've got some stuff I post and share, and some little videos I do every once in a while on the Facebook group Migo Like. So yeah, come and check me out, and hopefully I won't make you angry.
You have a lot of videos. You do a lot of videos. You have good videos.
Yeah, Max, you do a lot of lives.
You do a lot of good videos. Max has good videos. Don't let him sound so short. He does a lot of videos and they're good. I, on the other hand, I don't know how many videos I have. I have 60 something, I think. I think I did them all in the course of 3 days and tried to spread them out so they look like they were done over time. So you can find
shirt and all of them, right?
So you can find me mostly in Migo Like, chatting it up about toys and vintage action figures and so on. But we talk about all kinds of stuff in there. And then I have a YouTube channel of My Migo Like and website mymigolike.com, which is a collection from people sending in all kinds of antiquities and goodness into mymigolike.com. It's mostly action figures, but we have other good stuff which everybody contributes. No, I do not own all those. There's no way I could afford all them. So I rely on other guys to send all the pictures and I just post them up. How's that?
Yeah, and I can be found most times on Dr. Durant's Sanctum on YouTube. I do videos where I talk about old toys, comic books, movies, whatever I feel like talking about, usually stuff from the 70s and 80s.
Very good videos. Very good videos. So
And
what are we talking about today, guys?
I think today we're talking about The Incredible Hulk, the 1970s television series with Bill Bixby and Lou Ferrigno.
I love Lou Ferrigno, and his name's Lou. That just makes it all the better.
Well, I love The Incredible Hulk. And I mean, this is from that time period where there was, nowadays, Marvel fans just have their pick of whatever they want for, Marvel heroes, the movies and the TV series and stuff like that. But back then, there was very little. There was a Spider-Man TV series with Nicholas Hammond, which was okay. And then this came along. This was really the first, I think, really full-fledged live action superhero series for Marvel that was a big success.
It was good. It was good. It was very, very good.
It was really good.
Before that, I mean, Marvel was, we all knew, the cartoons, Spider-Man and Aquaman and Fantastic Four, or Spider-Man and not Aquaman, that's DC, but, Spider-Man, the Fantastic Four, Iron Man, all of that stuff from the cartoons, but to bring them out into a live action, and at the time, of course, how in the world are you going to do, the transformation, to this monster, from the mild-mannered, Bruce Banner to this beast character, and keeping in mind that in the late 70s, even they didn't have all the computer, CG stuff that they could do now. Special effects were done totally different. Now, I think it came across, when you look at it now, I mean, sure, you could probably be real critical and say, well, then, hey, that's kind of, cheap or whatever. But at the time, when you're watching it, and for the target audience, being kids, or younger people who are the comic book fans, I think that it came across extremely well, and it was very, very interesting, and didn't have the same campy feel that that the Batman program or the Wonder Woman. Sure. It had more of an action, and it was something I think that as an older person, as an adult, or younger, or older teen, younger 20s, you could watch it and get a lot of enjoyment out of it, especially if you've grown up with, the comic books.
Oh yeah, I mean, I loved the Incredible Hulk as a kid, and I mean the comic books, the TV show, everything, and it was really special to me because when I was younger, my parents got divorced when I was probably around 6 or 7 years old, and my father would take me on the weekends, and he had like this little apartment, and he'd pick me up every Friday afternoon after school, and the Hulk was on Friday nights, and I remember sitting there with my dad every Friday. So I looked forward to Friday to see my dad, and we would sit there in the apartment and we would watch the Hulk, and then like when he would take me home at the end of the weekend, I felt like the Lonely Man theme was playing in my head because I was so sad, and I thought my dad was like living alone in this sad little apartment. Little did I know he had like a girlfriend on the side and everything like that. So it was, it wasn't, but to
My
me as a
good old
7 my
man.
heart was broken for my dad. I thought he was like Bill Bixby, like he's like, oh, he's all alone. He has to live in this sad apartment, and I miss him so much. And it was like, so the Hulk's a very special show for me, just for those memories alone. But of
Right.
course, growing up, I love the Hulk, and I think you're right, Max. What they did that was beautiful here is the effects still hold up, but they gave it to two things. They only let him turn into the Hulk twice per episode, so you're not getting an overload of the Hulk, and you have Bill Bixby as the lead, who really plays the pathos and the tragedy of the character of, they call him David Banner in the TV series because they thought Bruce was I don't know, they didn't think it was manly enough of a name back in the 70s, I guess, to call him Bruce Banner.
I think I love the show. I always thought it was really good. I mean, as far as like the special effects, I mean, they were what they were for the time. They weren't horrible because there were movies that were released, shows after that Hulk came out, that were bad. I don't know. Did you guys ever see like the really early Fantastic Four movie or something? It was terrible. It was like
The Roger Corman one that they did,
horrible.
where
Yeah,
Mr. Fantastic is just like his
just
hands
an
on a broomstick and they're
arm on a
waving it around.
broomstick. Yeah, it was terrible. But then you watch this; it's really cool. Like they showed him, and then he'd get that intense look. Please don't make me angry, and then you get that intense look, and they zoom in on his face, and the eyes start to turn green, or they turn green, and the next thing you know, he's coming out. And even the fact I think that they did stuff right, like they did it, and a lot of it, the slow motion stuff, which just makes it look like it's explosive, even though it was probably styrofoam and stuff. That kind. Not to say Lou Ferrigno probably could have knocked over a few walls. He was not exactly
Right. Well, that's the thing, is like they gave it, almost gave it that comic book feel too. When it's in slow motion, it's like you're watching panels move or something like that, and you can you can spend time with the action. But yeah, and the Hulk, of course, just appeals. I mean, obviously it appealed to adults too, but it appeals to kids for so many reasons because when you're growing up as a kid, you've got these emotions that you can't sort of deal with, and people just don't understand you, just like the Hulk, like you've got a lot of anger and rage.
That's
like
hard to do. Like you take a superhero, you make it so that kids and adults, and it's one thing you go see a Marvel movie today, and kids and adults can go see it, but they make that show where like kids and adults could get it, and it had a real story, which was good. It wasn't. I mean, I don't know. I didn't think it was cheesy. I actually thought it was good. I mean, other than the fact that it was a superhero in the movie, in the show, it was still like a good TV series.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it really was. I mean, they had all the right actors for it. That's for sure.
Yeah, and it was, and the way that it portrayed, I mean, it was an interesting story each week, and it seemed, very. I mean, even though it's obviously superhero fantasy kind of stuff, I mean, it was done in a real believable, real human way.
Right.
And the thing is, you're right. You're absolutely right about the casting because and the thing with Lou Ferrigno, I mean, he was not an unknown name at the time. I mean, people knew who Lou Ferrigno was, and from the bodybuilding and all of that stuff, and to put him in, in all the green and the, it was just captivating, because you could watch the show and it sort of had a very, very believable, not like a lot of the Marvel movies now. I mean, obviously total fantasy, and they didn't have all of the with all the computer graphics that they do now. They do
thank God, because that stuff messes stuff. I mean, the movies and stuff are good, but that stuff a lot of times I think it kind of messes it up. I really do.
The CGI is crazy. Like you're right, Max, because I think they say the thing about CGI looks real but feels fake, and these effects look fake but feel real.
Right. I think that's a good way of putting it, because a lot of times, that's some of the movies become of today. They become so CG.
Right.
It's like you don't even need actors anymore.
It's so much of a video overload, I think, that it gets hard to follow. You remember when the Transformers was big, right? I mean, I tried watching Transformers as an adult, and I couldn't follow, because of the CG. When they're rolling around and fighting, I couldn't tell whose parts or what. But but when you look at the Hulk from back then, it was very obvious where the Hulk was, and
he was great.
He
was great. I mean, they did the right thing. He had the right, he had the right look to them. The green was the right color. It wasn't it wasn't too out of place. I mean, I don't know how long it took him to paint him up in green. That must have been fun to get off when he was done. But
and the thing about it with it, not only and that he's this big thing that comes out out of anger, but he had a very human a human presence. Kind of like people talk about Frankenstein was just a misunderstood, and so it wasn't just a constant and total rage, even while he was the character of the Hulk. He was doing the right thing. He wasn't just blinded rage.
And I think that's why he appeals to kids, just like Frankenstein does. Because it's sort of it's like they understand he's misunderstood. He's not. He's not. There's no evil intent there or anything like that.
Right.
Yeah. He's angry, and now he's going to do this, that, and the other, and so it's not like he was just randomly smashing. Granted, we all know the term Hulk smash, right? But it was focused rage, focused violence, focused whatever and it came out. So you didn't feel like he had to be afraid of him necessarily either, that he was unpredictable. So that's the thing. I mean, and I was a little older. I mean, I was probably 17 when the movie came out, the show was on, and it wasn't so kid oriented that I couldn't enjoy it at 17 years old.
Right.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I showed it to my daughter when she was little. We used to watch YouTube clips from it and stuff like that. And she used to she loved the opening theme song, which is a more souped up version of the Lonely Man theme. And she would do that thing at the beginning. She'd do that
Unlonely Man.
Yeah, she'd sit in the car and she'd be like but I mean everything about it was so great. I mean, and of course anybody that talks about it remembers that theme they call it the Lonely Man theme. That even that piano theme. It's kind of like the Marvel
I was even 10 years old and I would get sad. I'm like, why am I sad? Why is this man walking down the street by himself? Will nobody help him? But he always had good clothes. I always thought it was funny, he broke out of his clothes and he always had a good outfit. I don't know if he kept extras, but did the Hulk even have one word in one episode?
No, he would just roar, and it wasn't even Lou Ferrigno didn't do his voice. Ted Cassidy, who played Lurch on the Addams Family, did the roar.
If you ever speak with Lou Ferrigno or hear him speak, I think because of his partial deaf or that he is it's tough for him to do that deeper voice. That thing. Yeah.
But I mean, to give Lou Ferrigno his due, I mean, there are moments in the show he's not just smashing, throwing styrofoam boulders around and stuffed bears and stuff like that. There are scenes where he has to show some emotion, and he has to do it without talking. It has to all be facial. It's very silent. He
wasn't just some wild beast running around.
Right.
He was actually a character.
I was looking at the episode guide here. Going through some of the episodes. I remember one of my favorite episodes was "Never Give a Trucker an Even Break." and basically a good percentage of that episode is Steven Spielberg's Duel. They take a lot of like the footage from the movie Duel, and it's basically Bill Bixby is being chased by this truck around the desert. I don't know if you guys have seen Duel, but it's that movie where the truck is chasing a guy around the desert, and that's basically the movie that got Spielberg to do
borrow.
Jaws.
Yeah, they borrowed stuff. I mean, I guess they borrowed stuff back then, but I mean, even back then, like even if you borrowed something, your available content was so much more contained, right? Like now you go on the internet and you can watch a show that's in Japan, from your house. Back then, like if it wasn't broadcasting in your area, you wouldn't know what it was unless you're reading, like a magazine like Starlog or something to hear something about it. I mean, like I said, I was younger. I lived overseas, and I remember we used to get those magazines. I think it was called Dynamite. You could get them from
Dynamite.
Is that what it was? It Dynamite?
There was Dynamite, and then there was Bananas. Bananas was
exactly.
If you're a little bit older, you got Bananas.
Right, and they'd have all those like. And here's a picture of the guy from Dukes of Hazzard. I'm like, what the hell's Dukes of Hazzard? Like we didn't have those shows over there. Everything was so far behind. But then, you come back here and you see all that stuff. But, it was like, that's the only place you kind of found that stuff where your friends told you, check out the new program, that kind of thing. And go home and make sure you, turn your dial to channel such and such and put some aluminum on the antenna so you can get the picture. But yeah, it was so hard to like get content that wasn't in your area unless you were somebody else or being fed, because you couldn't go look it up on the internet. There was none of that.
Well, and you didn't have cable TV, and you didn't have I mean,
golden days.
Certainly, I mean, you had people had Betamax and things like that, but those players and all that was so expensive. I mean, I know when I was overseas, in the military, I mean, I was in Greece and there was no American television. I mean, we didn't have Armed Forces television or any of that.
Yeah.
And, I mean, same thing when I was in Panama, we didn't have that. And so, we'd get stuff on ginormous, those great big, 35 millimeter or 8 millimeter
reels.
Yeah, those big ones that you used to use in like school, or something. But they'd send us stuff like the football games or whatever, and
blood runs red on the highway.
But I mean, for me, when I was in Greece, it was the '80s, and we used to get stuff sent to us on VHS.
Sure.
And but that's the only way you could keep up, and so yeah, it was totally different, and it wasn't. It wasn't like now where you had in demand and all of that. You got your butt in front of the television set, or you didn't, you missed the show.
You never see the episode again. You might never see it.
Yeah, yeah. It was, so that was, we were a lot more, focused on what shows were on. I mean,
so TiVo or recording or watching download, streaming it somewhere.
There was none of that. And if you were over at Grandma's house and, they would have decided they wanted to watch golf for Lawrence Welk,
Don't even. Yeah, I remember that. I remember going to my grandparents and my grandfather and my cousins. They loved watching golf, my uncles. And I'm like, it's no offense to anyone, but it was so boring. I'm like, yeah, so the Hulk song is like, all right, well, we're going to watch some golf. And it's like, you're going to watch a bunch of grown men hit that little tiny ball
in the
field. And it's like, just waiting for us. Like, let's watch some action.
Yeah.
I remember, who's the Hulk? I'm like, what? That kind of
stuff.
There's something very zen about watching older TV too, like just the way that the episodes are structured. That's very different about 100%. How TV episodes are now. Like the acts are very, here's the first act where we're setting up the story. Now he's going to turn into the Hulk, at the midway point. Then we're going to go into the second act. And then for the conclusion, he becomes the Hulk again. And then cue the Lonely Man theme as he hitchhikes down the road.
Right. So he turned into the Hulk twice per episode. Is that what we were saying?
That was it. He would turn. It was the same thing. A lot of TV episodes have that. It was the same thing with Kung Fu. Like Kwai Chai Kang would
two fight scenes.
Fight twice per episode. You'd get in a fight at the beginning and then at the end. I think that was because of violence issues or something.
But there was a lesson grasshopper to be learned, of course.
Yeah. But I mean, were you guys Hulk fans? Did you read the Hulk comics? Because I remember my first Hulk comic growing up was Hulk 205, and that is one where the Hulk actually has a girlfriend, Jarella, who was a character created by Harlan Ellison.
That's not the She-Hulk? Is that
No,
the
it's not the She-Hulk. Is his cousin, but
Oh, that's his cousin. Though.
yeah. So Jarella
So
dies in this issue. This is the very first issue of the Hulk I can remember reading, and it's like the Hulk's girlfriend dies, and I was like heartbroken, you know. So it's like,
did you hear the Lonely Man song though when it happened?
it wasn't on yet, but then they did on the comic books. They would call Marvel's TV sensation would be plastered across the covers of the Hulk comic books in the late 70s.
That's so cool. I mean, I have stuff. The stuff I have from the 70s, the stuff I got later were like, model kits from like Aurora or NPC, whatever, that were actually the Hulk, and some of them were pretty good. Some of them are like that kind of, I don't know if it was like that original Hulk where it kind of looked like Frankenstein kind of looking thing, and then they developed him to a more, better character, whatever. But that kind of cool vintage stuff, I like. I carried, actually, this is the truth. I had gotten the Mego Hulk. I don't know how old I was when I got it. I kept that thing. It was the only Mego I ever had left. It was the only action figure. I had no more Star Wars. I had no more, all broken, G.I. Joe, or whatever. But that Hulk stayed with me till I was 15 or 16. And I finally gave it away to someone. And you know what I'm doing now? Kicking myself in the butt over that. That's for sure.
Yeah.
What about you, Max?
Always really big in the Hulk. I mean, that was his thing. I think the reason that he identified with the Hulk is because he was one of the kids that would get picked on, and it's like that inner rage thing. He always wanted to be able to bust out and set things right.
Yeah, I think I was very introverted when I was a kid. That's for sure. You would never know. Listen to me now, but that was one of the things. Like, hey, I'm going to be the Hulk, and basically the Hulk. If you were the Hulk when you're playing with your friends, nobody could stop him. I mean, he's like, I'm going to be the Hulk. All right, well, I'm just going to smash all you. It's like, well, I'm Batman. Wait a minute, I'm just going to smash you. I'm going to tear down your, whatever. And I think that was, that was one of the things.
Well, they did do a treasury-sized comic where the Hulk fights Batman, and Batman punches Hulk. I believe he punches Hulk in the throat, and the Hulk falls down. Like, he does knock the wind out of the Hulk.
Possible.
Yeah.
I got to get that comic.
I'm glad you don't have it, Max.
Max is on eBay as we speak.
It was the big treasury-size, dollar size. They were $1 back then. There you go. Yeah. But it was a big, digest-sized book. Not digest. It was a big, like, Life magazine-sized book.
That stuff's cool. I mean, it's really cool to like see that kind of stuff. Like, I always thought it was interesting when they do stuff like that, where they take characters and they cross them into comics like that. I didn't really comics, but it's cool to see like a cover with something like that completely different. But
back then too, I mean, it was a different time. Now you've got the DC fanboys, you get the Marvel fanboys,
right?
And back then as kids, we didn't even look at that. I mean, Spider-Man comic was a Spider-Man comic.
As far as the Hulk could have been DC at that point.
Hulk could have been DC. I mean, we crossed, those lines all the time. Like you were just talking about. Batman, working with Captain America or Spider-Man, and all of Superman and Iron Man, flying together to save the day. And Hulk would be right in there, so the same people that were very much enjoying, like I said, for me, it was the 66 Batman, then we went on to the, the Green Hornet and the Wonder Woman and stuff. And then kind of not a whole lot of, superhero stuff until the Hulk live action came on. And, and it was the same fan base, so, and we didn't have to compare, who's better, DC or Marvel, or who's writing and who's moving and all that stuff that goes on now, with, it was just everybody could enjoy it. I mean, if you were a superhero comic book, it didn't matter. And that's what was so cool about, about that time. And, everybody could relate to all the characters and all the, we always had your favorites, of course.
Yeah, I mean, the Hulk has that sort of late 70s, that 70s cinema existentialism to it, that it's like sort of that, he's out there trying to find a cure. I mean, And I guess the brilliant thing is right, they're really just using the template of the Fugitive for the Hulk. He's on the run, and McGee is chasing him down because he's wanted for a murder he didn't commit, and things like that. And he gets to go from town to town and meet some new guest star every week.
So did, like I said, I didn't really do comics like that when I was a kid, but I always used to think when I look at like the Hulk and I look at the Thing, and I don't know if I saw a comic or it's just something. Did they ever do a battle between the Hulk?
Oh, did they
Thing?
ever
And I'm
do a
assuming
battle
the Hulk
between the
kicked
Hulk
the
and the
crap out.
Thing? Of
Yeah.
course they did. They did numerous times. They did. I mean, they did it in the
did?
Silver Age and the Bronze Age. I mean, those were the two titans of the Marvel universe. Who could win, the Hulk or the Thing? And
How do you write a story for that and like pick one, or do they just always
well,
break in?
they cheat. Usually, what it was the same thing like when King Kong fought Godzilla. It's like it's sort of a draw. It's like there's
Oh,
no
yeah.
definitive winner.
Sure.
But-
I mean, and how many times have we seen the race between who's faster, Flash or Superman?
Yeah, exactly.
And it's, so yeah, so that's it's always, your heart goes one way, or you always like, you got your favorite guy, and I mean, even in the Avengers, when Hulk and Thor are fighting or whatever, right?
Right.
Yeah,
Who's
exactly.
who's stronger? And that's funny the way they play him in the Avengers. They a little bit differently. Of course, he's evolved throughout the comics as well too. There's some periods where he has Bruce Banner's brain, and he's smart when he's the Hulk, and then there's others where he's just a complete savage. And they've taken him so many different places now.
I do see all this stuff on the internet with people making CGI, Batman, like Superman versus Hulk, and
Yeah.
you see people make all these fan base things, which is
Oh yeah.
But I gotta say, like, in all honesty, even the Hulk in the new Avengers films, he's great. And what's his name? I forgot the guy who plays
Mark Ruffalo.
Yeah, Mark Ruffalo. He's good. I even like the one with Ed Norton. To be honest with you, I like that a lot.
I have to say, I'm probably one of the few people that likes the original one with I think it was Eric Bana. Was it? Yeah, because
I didn't love that one.
It was. I liked the way that Ang Lee tried to make the movie like a comic book. If you watch the movie, every time he switches the scene, it's like either a page is turning or it's moving across sideways, like you're going across panels and stuff like that. It had I mean, you got Sam Elliott in there as Thunderbolt Ross, and you had Nick Nolte as the Hulk's father. They went with more the reason the Hulk had this inner rage was because his father was abusive.
Right.
And boy, look, how are we tying the Hulk into dads? I mean, visiting my dad, and then there's angry dad. So I don't know what that's all about.
Well, spending a Friday evening with Dad watching the Hulk had to be better than a Sunday afternoon at the park with melted ice cream, right?
That's true. I mean, even with all those movies, all that stuff, the TV show was still good. It's like it was really good, and I don't think the movies don't make the TV show look bad in any way whatsoever, in my opinion. I thought they still looked really good because there's been some pretty bad stuff over the years, and even watching some of the older films or TV shows, you're like, all right, well, it's cool at the time, but now it's a little cheesy. But that show is good. I mean, other than the clothes being the clothes being out of fashion. And
now that's charming to watch, right? Because you're sort of like, I remember that. It's like
I remember those bell bottoms; they were fantastic.
And the thing with the Hulk is you can jump in anywhere. You can watch any episode. It's not like you have to be like, who's this guy again? What's he doing? It's not like Game of Thrones, you have to
Oh, you're right.
But it was
it's a good show. I thought it was good, and I don't know. I thought it was definitely enjoyable. I still watch it from time to time now. Pop in and see something on the internet. At least you can pick when you want to watch it, right?
Yeah, and they did that in the comics again. They did a run where he was just on the run, like he was wandering the country. Bruce Banner, which that was to pay homage to the TV series, and I always liked that version of him just sort of being on the run. And I always loved the character of McGee, Jack Colvin, who played the reporter there. He was a great actor, and I loved that character on the show as well. He sort of
now you guys got me thinking I'm gonna have to hunt down that whole series on DVD or Blu-ray or something, right?
I
think it's out pretty cheap.
He's gonna get the money out to buy more stuff.
Yeah.
It was out for a while. Like the whole set, you could get it. It could be found pretty cheap. I mean, sometimes you go to Walmart, you can get a box set of them for pretty good.
Right, correct. That's correct. So I don't know. I think we're probably getting close to time. So, any last thoughts or anything on that?
Well, I still think that Lou Ferrigno was an awesome Hulk, and the show was great, and the ending was always sad.
The ending was sad.
Yeah, bittersweet, melancholy would be the way.
Melancholy, you know, you're
Always a good one.
that guy, you know, just always ending it up with hitchhiking down some lonely road
Oh
somewhere.
yeah. Anytime I see the end of that show, it brings me back to being probably like 7 years old again, sitting in my dad's little apartment, and it makes me miss that time period. It makes me miss my dad.
Yeah, I think that's. I mean, even so, like even with Bill Bixby himself, like even as a person, he was he a good dude? I mean, I never heard a bad word about him, but I didn't really follow. Like I said, I was out of this country for so long.
He sure seemed to be. I mean, I never heard of it. And then he died fairly young too from like cancer or something like that. And I mean, he's the courtship of Eddie's father. Like,
yes, he is. Don't get me started on that.
Yeah.
Back to the dad thing.
Yeah.
There we go. Like, isn't this we're tying the Hulk into dads? So it's like, but I mean, there's nothing more iconic of the 70s to me than the Hulk. I mean, I really loved it at the time, and then just the color scheme in general, green and purple.
Yeah, it was good. They did. Yeah, it was really good. It was really good. I mean,
I assume you guys had the Mego Hulks.
Of course, had the Mego Hulks. The Mego Hulks, and let's add to the Empire Toys the Mego helicopter. Oh no, the Empire Toys helicopter and van, which is scaled for 8 to 12-inch figures. Go figure. I love that. It says 8 to 12-inch. So you put the Hulk in. I'm like, Hulk's gonna drive a helicopter. Okay, or a van for that matter. I'm like, what is he delivering meals? I have no idea, but and then he comes with like binoculars and a microscope. Okay, I'm like, got a fire extinguisher. He's got all these like
figure out microscope,
radar gun, right? He's like all these crazy. I'm like, what is he gonna do with this stuff? But
yeah, you got to do that. They had to do the 2-pack, the Bruce Banner and the Hulk. Because the Hulk ain't going to be operating a delicate microscope. That's for sure.
That's true.
Didn't they give him a Hulk utility belt? Wasn't that a toy? Remember they used to do the utility belts?
That was Remco, I believe, made that. Remco made that. I have the Tara Toys Hulk Hideaway playset, which was basically geared for, I think, the Mego Hulk, obviously, because that was what it was at the time. And I have it over there, but it's basically it's almost like a pyramid with the top kind of chopped off. You open it up, it opens 4 spots. Then it's got a spinny thing, and you get a paper version of like a printout of the Hulk and
Banner.
The banner, and then you spin it, and then it's got some other piece, but it's very, very cool. Like the first one I had was actually mint in box, if you would. It was fantastic, never opened. The one I have now is not, but it's a really cool. It's a cool little novelty thing, and it's like it was the one accessory they ever made for Hulk, other than that helicopter and van, which came later, and still to this day.
Is that the same thing? Didn't they do like the Bat Cave as like a Hulk fort or something like that? Or am I just dreaming that?
Well, I know we're on audio only, and I'll show it to you after so you could see, because I had over there, and I had it when I was reorganizing the Toy Room of Solitude here. I bumped into stuff I haven't seen in years. But no, it was pretty. It's a vinyl set, and it kind of looks almost like a pyramid, and then the sides just drop down. And of course, the fun part of that, because it's vinyl, of course, when you bought it, it was new. When you drop the sides, they don't drop all the way.
Right.
So, it's kind of like they're up here, like, up here. Try and stand your action figure on it. Well, Plastic Mego Hulk was, in real life, I'm sure the Hulk would hold that down, but Plastic Mego Hulk wasn't that heavy. So, yeah, it didn't work so well. But it was still a cool thing. It had a little computer and stuff and so on. But no, it's all kinds of stuff, good stuff. And I think that, they had so much stuff out of that. And I think the timing for that show was the right time. It was the right time to do it. I mean, what do we see on television? Again, you didn't have 50,000 channels and 50,000 streaming options you had.
Well, that was a big night. It was Dukes of Hazzard, then the Hulk. And I think Dallas was after
Don't
that.
leave your home. Don't leave your home. Yeah, that's right. Don't leave your home.
And it's Friday night, like, you know, nobody goes, you know, for me, Friday night was like TV night because no school tomorrow. I can stay up late, you know.
You can stay up late tonight. What time can I stay up till? 10:15. You know, that's crazy. It's crazy. No, it's definitely it's really cool. But it was a good show. So we probably have to go to the end of this one because we went a little bit over time. So who's going first? Maximus, Richard?
Well, I'm Max. It's been a lot.
You are Max. That's true.
I'm Max. I'm Max Overnighter. It's been a lot of fun. Taking a walk down memory lane. This kind of stuff is just a lot of fun to me. You know, it's good to get with you guys and, you know, just shoot the breeze and kick back old times and you know, talk about great shows from the 70s. Let's do it.
I am Rich Hurley, also known as Dr. Durant. You can find me at Dr. Durant Sanctum on YouTube, where we talk about fun stuff like this. And I've got a Dr. Durant's Facebook page as well, where you're free to come and hang out. And until next time, Hulk smash.
Nice. I like that. I am Lou Malagrana. I approve all their messages. That's true. They're all real. We have a Facebook page called Migo Like, but it's not just about Migos. It just happens to be the name that came up there. Plenty of talk on there, plenty of stuff to discuss with topics like this. You can go in and discuss all day, post your opinions. We have a webpage, mymigolike.com, which is mostly action figures, vintage action figures, and so on, but other things in there. We also have from some of these guys who sent in, like Dr. Duran here, some vintage costumes, very cool stuff to look at, play sets, and so on. And then the last thing is of course, the YouTube channel, My Migo Like, where you will find all kinds of ridiculousness and goodness, or ridiculousness, whatever. But this
even have vinyl night. Who knows?
Yeah, exactly. And thanks for letting us come in and talk with you guys. And
Speaking of vinyl night, just to toss into a thing, there is a Power Records Incredible Hulk record that they put out.
There you go.
That is based on the TV show.
Because
they call him David Banner in that. They don't call him Bruce.
Oh, they do?
Yeah, and it's based on those stories on that are based off the TV show.
Is that the only time they've used David Banner? I mean, other than the TV show or record, have they ever used that in a comic, or it's always been Bruce?
I'm sure it's always been Bruce, but they might have used it in the comic to pay allusion to the TV show or you know, a little Easter egg or something like that. But no, for the TV, the story is that they wanted him named David because Bruce was they, you know, I don't know why they thought Bruce was not a manly enough name. They associated with Bruce with being.
Well, they should have called him Engelbert or something. That probably would have.
I mean, Bruce Springsteen, is Bruce Springsteen not manly? Like
his name is now David Springsteen.
Max Banner.
There you
go. Max Banner.
Exactly. All right, so we're gonna cut out and then hope to speak to you guys again soon.